Hey guys, it's Whiskey. I got a question for you. When you read the Giganotosaurus profile on the Dynasty Realism server, the Giganotosaurus profile says that they're apex diurnal terrestrial carnivores. They can group in numbers of two. And then it says Giganotosaurus are fiercely aggressive to others of their kind, meaning other gigas, right? And Tyrannotitan. Once in a pair, they aggressively hunt and attack others in the same POI as them, even at night if they come across them. Okay, that's from the Giganotosaurus profile in the Dynasty Realism server. So if you ever played on Dynasty, you know they're very strict about following the species profile. So I attempt to do that. It doesn't give us any further instruction about how we're supposed to behave towards other gigas, other than we're supposed to be fiercely aggressive to them, even at night. And then it says, if a Giganotosaurus is sleeping and another Giganotosaurus happens upon them, they will immediately fight them, seeking either to hunt them, regardless of activity schedule and hunger levels, or drive them out of the POI entirely. Giganotosaurus do not go looking for others at night, and only engage in this behavior if other Giganotosaurus happen upon them by chance. Okay, so that's it. My interpretation of being fiercely aggressive would be, and it even says hunting or attacking, right? That should be obvious. Fiercely aggressive means attacking the other one. So I get that. I would attack them. I would assume, and I think it's reasonable to assume and to believe and to interpret that being fiercely aggressive would include the threat call that's available to every dinosaur in this game. There's various calls, and if I imagine, a Giga being fiercely aggressive to something, would certainly roar at them. Now, when you look at the emote wheel of the different types of roars you can do, there's friendly roars. It's got a heart icon, which obviously is intended to display friendliness. There's an alert call, like an exclamation point, to, describe some kind of an alert or a warning, right? There's a broadcast, just to announce your presence and be, loud. And then there's one that's specifically called a threat. So if I'm going to play a Giga and I want to be fiercely aggressive, which one makes the most sense to use? Well, for me, it would be the threat call. Am I missing something? What do you guys think? Don't you think that the threat call would be the appropriate one to use when trying to follow the Giganotosaurus profile that says being fiercely aggressive? If I'm missing something, please let me know, because I'm really confused, because on Dynasty, they're telling me that I should have known I wasn't supposed to use any kind of threat calls. And I'm totally confused on how I would have known that by reading the profile. So you can see this with your own eyes. It's not just me telling the story and leaving details out or anything like that to make it, look more in my favor than it is. I just want you to see exactly how it all took place, the raw video, and then let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? Am I, what? Because I'm totally confused, dumbfounded, mind-boggled by their verdict in this situation. So here's the clip. So we were in Salt Flats, and it's daytime. The sun is going down at this point in time. So we are trying to find a place to sleep. And at this point, we're talking, do you want to sleep here? And we decide, no, let's sleep over in Big Quill, where it's going to be more cover for us, where we can hide while we're sleeping. there's a water source there. We want a water source nearby, and we want food nearby. And there's roots and bones and water in Big Quill Lake. And there's a little spot over there I know that I like to sleep and hang out at night so that we can follow the species profile. And, you know, I don't want to be breaking rules by wandering around at night for very, very long. So I don't want to like sleep in salt flats and then have to walk all the way to Big Quill to get water when I know I'm going to need water or food. So that's why we're going to an optimal spot to sleep. And if you played on Dynasty, you know there's players see you walking around, and then God forbid you're walking around and it's not your activity time to be walking around. They're going to make a ticket on you, and then you got to deal with the staff that might be completely unreasonable with you about your ticket. So we're keeping all that in mind, and we're going to find a good spot to sleep. I normally wouldn't air dirty laundry, so to speak. I played on Arizona for a year and had all kinds of crazy encounters and issues with moderators on that staff that I disagreed with, and I never once ever posted a video about it, because in the end, even if I disagreed with them, they were at least reasonable and I could understand their perspective. And I didn't want to bash the server or anything, because I enjoyed playing on there, and I know everybody's human and we all make mistakes, and I always understood their perspective, and I made mistakes on that server as well. They always understood my perspective, and they were always fair and reasonable with me, even when I screwed up and did stupid things. And there were things I disagreed with, and there were things that were done to me by the staff on that server that I still think were wrong to this day, but I never ever posted a video about it because it was never egregious or ridiculous. And this particular encounter that we had and the way that the staff is handling it on Dynasty is absolutely ridiculous, unfair, it's totally unreasonable, and they're being disingenuous, and I think showing a total lack of integrity. And that's why I'm doing this video. So here's what happened, and you can judge for yourself. So as you can see, the sun had just gone down a minute ago, right as we left Salt Flats and entered into Big Quill Lake. And we're walking along looking for our sleeping spot, and we spot these Gigas out in the distance. So now we're acting according to what the profile states we're supposed to be doing, which is acting fiercely aggressive. And that includes the threat calls. You can see we do multiple threat calls. We don't just do 3 threat calls, which would indicate a challenge if it was daytime. But since it's Gigas and we're supposed to be fiercely aggressive, we are being fiercely aggressive by issuing a whole bunch of threat calls and alert calls and broadcasts and everything we can think of to show that we're being fiercely aggressive. Those Gigas aren't leaving. And in fact, you can see when we approach them here, they even attack us. So we go ahead and we fight back. How is this encounter doing anything other than exactly what this profile specifies? We're being fiercely aggressive to other Gigas even at night. Well, the admin that took the ticket, the first one that took it, said that we broke a rule because we tried to do a challenge at night, and we used the threat call, which starts a challenge, and we shouldn't have done that at night. And I pointed out, well, it says we're supposed to be fiercely aggressive. And they said, yeah, but you can't use the threat call. Well, how would I know that? How would anybody read that profile and know that we're not supposed to use a threat call? It says you're supposed to be fiercely aggressive and hunt or attack them, even at night. And that's exactly what we did right here. And the Dynasty Rule 1.1 says that if the server rules contradict the species profile, that the species profile overrides that, and that you're supposed to follow the species profile. So that's exactly what we did in that encounter. And I'm being punished for that because they're telling me that I issued a challenge at nighttime and Gigas are diurnal. Totally ignoring the profile, totally ignoring the fact that I'm supposed to be fiercely aggressive, and just saying, nope, I shouldn't have used a 3 call. That's the only reason we got in trouble, because we used a threat call. I mean, am I missing something, guys? Please let me know in the comments below. Am I crazy? Should I have known that I wasn't supposed to use a threat call to be fiercely aggressive to other Gigas when I happened upon them at night, just like the profile says? Or am I right and these guys are being completely disingenuous, unreasonable, unfair, and ridiculous in their handling of this situation? So anyway, I wanted to share that because I'm extremely frustrated. This clip here is actually on another realism server called Regal Rain Realism, which that's where I'm going to be playing because I can't handle this dynasty stuff. I just can't handle it. It's like every single 2 seconds on that thing, there's people trying to accuse you of breaking a rule because they don't want to lose their growth. You know, on that server on Dynasty, it's a permanent death, and you're going to go back to hatchling. So everybody's pissed when they die, and they'll make a ticket just to roll the dice, even if they don't know a rule was broken. They'll just make a ticket just to see if maybe a rule was broken, or maybe they get an ignorant moderator like the one I got that doesn't even know their own rules and says that you broke a rule so that they get their growth back. But I wanted to get everybody's opinion and thought on that because I'm just like, me and everybody I've talked to about it, friends, family, others that play the game, everybody reads that profile and watches what I just shared with you guys and says, yeah, I don't know how anybody would consider that a rule break, how anybody would think that you're supposed to behave any differently than we did after reading the profile that says that the Giga is fiercely aggressive to others of its kind, even at night. For them to come back and say that I shouldn't have been doing that because it was nighttime, well then why does the profile say you're supposed to be fiercely aggressive even at night? I can understand what they're saying to be correct if it was any other species than a Giga or a Tyrannotitan, but when the profile specifically says you're supposed to be fiercely aggressive even at night, how would I know that I'm not supposed to issue a threat call or multiple threat calls before I attack? It's totally unreasonable, and I just can't deal with a server that has staff that are this unreasonable and unbelievable. But like I said, you know what? I've got an open mind, and maybe I'm missing something, and that's why I'm asking for my community to let me know what your feedback is, and maybe it'll shed some light on something I'm totally missing. But I can't for the life of me figure it out, and nobody else I've talked to about it that play this game thinks that you would behave any differently than how we behaved on there. There's no way to determine that you're supposed to act any differently than how we acted based on reading that profile and reading those rules. And for them to punish somebody for acting as best as they could according to the profile is just wrong. And so I can't deal with it. I'm going to be playing on Regal Rain Realism and also on Apex Killers. I will not be bothering with Dynasty anymore. I'm done. Unless, like I said, you guys can share something with me that'll give me an epiphany on this. I can't see what it is. But like I said, let me know. And as always, guys, I do hope to see you out there in Gondua. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.